Hi, my name is Kristen Bariano. I'm in Coopersburg, Pennsylvania, and I'm giving an informative speech on the evolution of video games. And I have my audience present here with me. Okay. The booming video game industry is set to make $125 billion by 2020. Being an avid gamer, I thought it would be interesting to, really understand how the consoles have changed since the 1970s when they were first released to what they're currently like today. There are currently 8 generations of video games, and they each have their own pros and cons. Today I would like to dive into the information that I found out about all the different generations of video games. The first 3 generations of video games are pretty synonymous in the fact that the only thing that really changed was the amount of colors that were, present in the actual gaming. So the first generation, the most well-known was Pong. It was the first home arcade game released in 1972. It had a built-in chip, and it did have no removable media, and the graphics were in black and white. The second generation was the Atari 2600. It was the most well-known system of that time, and the graphics were between 1-bit and 16-bit. They had a micro-based hardware that used the cartridges so you could choose to play different games. And I have a picture here of the Pong system, which you can tell is very large in size. And then I have a picture of the Atari and also the ColecoVision, which was similar and released around the same time. The third generation, which is often referred to the 8-bit processing era, was the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System. It had 25 to 32 colors on screen, and it also used cartridges in order to make the games interchangeable. The fourth generation of video game consoles made their debut in 1989, when they were commonly known as the 16-bit era. So the main, focus on this generation was to ensure that the evolution of the colors and the better graphics were evident. So that was when they released the Sega Genesis. So I have a picture of the Sega Genesis, and I have the Super Nintendo, which was also known as the SNES. So the fourth generation had anywhere between 64 to 4,096 colors on the screen. The fifth generation, which is, when you start to get into the better graphics here a little bit, was known as the 32-bit era, the 64-bit era, and the 3D era. So there was now gaming consoles that use CD-ROMs instead of the cartridges, which made it more efficient for traveling. You could put them in the carrying case and you could take them with you. So prime examples would be the Nintendo 64 and the Game Boy. So these were the first time the handheld games are really evident. Like I said, they turned gaming into portable, which made it, a bit more efficient for gamers. The sixth generation of consoles was known as the 128-bit era. And that was when you saw your Sega Dreamcast, your Sony PlayStation 2, the GameCube, Microsoft Xbox were systems that emerged at this time. You have your seventh generation of gaming consoles, which were developed using high resolution and high definition. It had a built-in 3D Blu-ray player, and the controllers also had movement sensors. And then we have, so the systems that emerged were the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, and the Nintendo Wii. So I have pictures of those as well. We have the 8th generation, which was the most current generation of video games, where you can really see the evolution of the video games. It has consoles that work with your television, and the ones that were released for that was the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. The Xbox One had 500 gigabytes of RAM, and the Xbox 360 had 250 of RAM, but you had to buy it extra in order to allow more memory. Systems are now voice activated, which also makes gaming more efficient. And you have the Nintendo Switch, which has the ability, you can play it at home on your television, and you can actually remove it off the dock. And as you get in the car, to your destination, you can pick off playing right where you left off before you left the house. So as you can tell here, we go from something like our third generation from the NES, which the system was very bulky. We go from that. And then we go to the Nintendo Switch, and this is the first portable system that you can leave off exactly where you left off and take it to go with you. So in conclusion here, video games have been evolving since the 1970s, definitely, from when the first console was released. The generation of video consoles support how technology is constantly changing and how the demand for improved technology is also becoming more evident. So we're seeing better graphics, more memory, etc. So the creators of video games are making a constant effort to improve, gaming as a whole and make it more accessible. So thank you for listening.